Well, hello. Welcome to American Reversion. I'm Steve Smith. This is the third one that I'm making today, three in a row. And as I've said before, I'm chopping these things up so that they'll be shorter and smaller, uh, so that they don't get lost in those 30-minute things that I do. Because I know there are a lot of the items in there, the subjects that we'd like to share with other people, but a lot of times we don't want to share a 30-minute long involved thing. Um, if we can have a shorter thing just to send to a friend or something like that we'd like to influence and say, here, look at this. So that's what I'm doing. I want to talk on this one about freedom. I just watched, and I'm attaching the video over on Patreon. By the way, welcome to everyone who's here. Welcome to those who have been with us before, and to all the new subscribers, both on YouTube and on Patreon. Thank you all who support us on Patreon. If you're newer or you're not yet with us on Patreon, the way you can do that, there's a link down here. Just come over to Patreon, join us for $1 or however much you like a month. It doesn't, there's no requirements on that. And we appreciate your support. And we do put a lot of stuff over there that we don't put here on YouTube. Anyway, I'm putting something over there by Ronald Reagan. It is, I think, probably 2 minutes of the most concise, most inspiring words where he talks about freedom. Some of you are probably familiar with his speech in which he said that freedom is never more than one generation away. Okay, who wants me? That's right. Never more than one generation away. We don't pass this on to our children in the bloodstream. There's more to that. I won't co-opt the whole speech, but that's why it's over there. I make no bones about the fact that probably my favorite president of all has been Ronald Reagan. And the funny thing is I was not a fan of his when he ran. Matter of fact, I detested him, and I guarded him one time, and maybe sometime I'll talk about. It was during the 1976 Republican convention here in Kansas City. And at the time, I was a staunch Democrat because I was raised a Democrat. I was raised because Democrats were good, Republicans were bad. I've said this before. If a Republican ever did anything good, it was either by mistake or a sneaky way to do something bad later, right? A lot of us came out of that. And what happened to me was a lot like what Reagan said himself. He said, I didn't leave the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party left me. And it wasn't until, so I didn't think about politics. I was raised in Jackson County, Missouri, Kansas City. Everybody was a Democrat. I didn't have to think, which made me a perfect Democrat, right? Well, Carter, who won the 1976 presidential election, is where I woke up. But anyway, maybe someday I'll tell the story. And I remember I was very disappointed when I had to guard Reagan. And he was running for the Republican nomination. He was running against Gerald Ford, and Ford won it, and then lost to Carter. And we know what happened from there. But I was just disgusted that I had to guard Reagan until I walked into a room to come get him to take him somewhere, and he turned around and he looked at me and he said something. And that changed my direction. And maybe someday I'll tell that story. But on this video where he talked about freedom never being more than one generation away, that we don't pass it to our children in our bloodstream, and the possibility that if we don't stand up, we may be sitting someplace talking to our children or grandchildren and trying to explain to them what America was like when it was free. And those are both inspiring but heart-wrenching thoughts. We know that we are going downhill to where I'm already talking to my children and trying to explain to them what America was like when I was their age. So different. And some people in our country have been driving this towards communism, towards tyranny, towards state control of everything. And while a very small group have been actively working against it, others talked a lot about it. You know, they talked a great game, but they were essentially they essentially abetted this by not working against it hard enough. You know, it's, well, I voted. Well, that voting's not enough. And we saw what voting gets us, right? Anyway, my main purpose here is, as he said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. If all of our freedom, and some will argue, our freedom is already gone. Well, I will argue against that, excuse me, because I simply will, okay? But you have your view too, and I understand that. We're certainly not as free as we used to be. Is this a generation in which our freedoms finally become extinct rather than on the road to extinction? Okay, so that's what we need to talk about. That's what we think about. My main purpose here was to put this video up over on Patreon for you all to see, for you all then to think about also, and leave your comments here, because you know the comment section becomes more and more important as more people get involved in it, because it's not just a matter of you answering what I've said, but it's a matter of everyone kind of helping to educate each other. We've got some really smart people here, and I know that you all will fill in all the blanks that it would take me an hour to talk about. Nobody wants to hear me talk for an hour, right? So you all leave your comments, because it will be helping other people that come along. This is how you contribute. This is how you contribute to the cause. Not, you know, your dollar on Patreon or whatever. That's great, and that helps a lot. But really, so much of a contribution can go to your comments that will help enlighten others who come along and read them. So let's think about that. Watch that if you want to, or you can find it on, or just make comments on what I've said right here. And thank you for that. Remember, like we've said in the past, or like I've said in the past, America needs a reversion. We know now that a reversion may not be enough. He also, Reagan in this one, talks about the difference in the American Revolution and every other revolution, and it's an important distinction. So does America need a reversion? Does it need something more? What is that? Remember, keep your comments away from violence or anything like that. And I'll be very interested to hear what you have to say, because whatever America needs, it needs you to be a part of it. It needs all of us to be a part of it. And the more people that we can get our message to, the better it is for us, and the better it is for the future of whatever our country may become. Okay? You all have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.